I work in a pet food store with mostly returning customers. We have a rewards program, and for that, we keep a sales record for when the program applies. The other day, a customer came in and wanted to exchange a product they'd bought a couple of days before. While the whole interaction was very pleasant, they asked me about how our POS works, what I see when I log in. I politely explained to her that our POS only shows the items we're selling at the moment on the main screen, and that we don't look up sales histories unless specifically asked by the customer. They then asked me why did my coworker let them leave with the wrong thing. I reminded them that people often buy dog and cat food together. Also, it's not our job to police what people buy. If you bought something without paying attention to what it was, we don't question it. I kindly told them that it's up to them, the customer, to know what they buy. All in all, it was well handled on both sides. We were polite and the questions got answered, but that question. You are an adult, I am not here to babysit you. This is a short post, but I found it pretty funny. Sorry for my English, it's my first language. So I'm doing returns at a pretty average Canadian big box store, and this woman comes in wanting to return a laptop. I ask what the issue is, and she says that the keyboard has too many buttons and she thinks it might be another language, like French or something. Being a Canadian store, we occasionally have laptops with bilingual keyboards. Upload.wikimedia.org web link that most English speakers, myself included, hate because it's completely different than an English keyboard. Upload.wikimedia.org web link, so I get wanting to return the laptop. I open it up to check for damage and whatnot, and I see that the keyboard in fact is a totally normal US English keyboard. It turns out the issue that made the keyboard look foreign is in fact the number pad. She thought it was too foreign and wanted to return it. I was just baffled, didn't say anything, and returned the laptop as normal. I used to work in a large bookstore chain. There was one very elegant older lady who would come in infrequently and peruse the newest biographies. She only ever dealt with myself and one other person, disdaining the other employees, but she was very nice to us and quite a fun customer to deal with. I was stuck with an employee who was the district manager's spy for a few weeks, and he was very smarmy and obsequious to everyone. We all just put up with him. So our favorite customer comes in, and I approach her to help her as usual, noticing the spy approaching her and thinking that this is gonna go poorly, tried to beat him to her. The spy gets there first and asks if he can help her. She wheels around elegantly, and looks him up and down scathingly. I arrived just as she replied, "Get away from me, you horrid little man," then turns and greets me warmly. One of my best memories of my bookstore years. This happened over a month ago. I work as a yard hand and delivery driver at a retail store that sells building material. About 10 minutes before our day is done, we go from one side of the property to the other, locking up all the storage sheds, gates, etc. It was a Tuesday or Wednesday, and we are less than 5 minutes from close. We are closing the last shed attached to the store, when a customer sticks his head out one of the doors leading into the store, asking us not to lock up yet, he needs some lumber. I asked him what kind, and he said he needed a certain kind in 8 pieces 7 feet long, but since we didn't have it in 7, he was going for 8-foot pieces. I tell him it's in one of the sheds we already locked, so I'll have to go get the key. We go into the shed where we have it, but we were out. I knew we had more, but it was in another shed, behind locked gates, doors, and buried under and behind lots of stock. So getting to it would take over 15 minutes. So the 2 co-workers who came out to help, I told them to take the 14-foot pieces we had, cut them in half, and that would give him the 7-foot pieces he would need. I go back to the store so the staff can properly update the sale. This point, it's a few minutes past close. So I go in, let them know with the customer there. The customer then said, well, if it's a hassle, it can wait. I don't need it until Friday, so I can come back and pick it up then. My jaw dropped. I was very close to saying, then why are you here at close? But I just bit my tongue. I just gave him a look, then walked out, as my co-workers finished cutting the wood, and loading it into his vehicle. I worked for a retailer that provided assigned lockers to its employees. I usually kept my jacket, thermos, some snacks, and a box of plastic utensils in there. One day I walked into the break room for lunch and I see Margaret in my locker. "Why are you in my locker?" "I need a fork," she said with a lot of attitude. "This is my locker. And I need a fork. You can't just go into my locker and take my things. I paid for those." "Well, I need a fork." She turned and walked away with my fork. I went to the manager, but she really didn't care. I maintained that she can't just go and take things without even asking, so she promised to talk to Margaret. A week later I brought lunch for friends. We'd been talking about good barbecue spots in town, so I spent about $100 out of my own pocket to feed the team I worked with in the back room. Well, guess who walked in and made herself a plate without even asking? "What are you doing? What's it look like?" "I'm making a plate." "This isn't your food. I brought this in to feed my friends. I see food, so I'm making a plate. I paid for this. It's not for you." No one said there was free food in the break room. Any food in here means it's for everyone. I complained to the manager, but again she didn't care. I stopped bringing things in after that, since apparently Margaret can take anything she wants. So I'm a customer assistant and quite often work in self-scan, approving alcohol sales, dealing with things being too heavy, light and so on. So a few days ago a woman comes in with clothes and asks if I can take the security tags off. I explain no, store policy only lets us take tags off items once they've been purchased. So she pays and then I take her to the detailer where my colleague is standing. I detag 3 of her 4 items when she says she's just going to get a bag, leaving her 4th item behind. 10 minutes pass and she's not back, and my colleague leaves to go to the toilet. Whilst on the way she passes the customer service desk where said customer was complaining that I had given her confusing instructions. Luckily my colleague spoke to the customer service desk to clear things up and nothing became of it. The lady collected her final item and left. If my colleague hadn't told me of this I wouldn't have known I'd confused her. She did make me somewhat uncomfortable though, calling me gorgeous, handsome, amongst other pet names. So yeah, no idea what was on with her. Didn't impact my day much and continued on as normal.